Enugu State Government on Sunday announced the commencement of the payment of local government retirees' pensions. And a statement by the Secretary to the State Government, Professor Chidebere Onya, said over 7,000 eligible pensioners had received their payments following a thorough biometric verification process. Onya said the verification exercise conducted by the Local Government Pensioners Biometric Verification Committee had identified and eliminated 2,640 ghost and deceased pensioners who were still receiving payments. The move was part of the administration's effort to clear outstanding pensioners and gratuities inherited from previous government, ensuring that legitimate retirees received their deserved benefits, the statement indicated. Now, the SSG, who frowned on the level of fraud in the pension system, said the record provided by the Local Government Pensions Board indicated that the state had been paying over 8,760 local government retirees as part of April 2024 against the 7,109 verified pensioners. And he talked about reforming the pension system through strong institutional policies that will make it difficult for corrupt elements to find their way into the scheme. And what are these strong institutional policies? He stated the digitalization of the institution with measures that would make every transaction and payment transparent, accountable, and traceable, so that we can stop having these cases of fraud in the pension system. Wow. Okay, let's see how digitalization will go. When people have suggested, a lot of people have suggested this. When you talk about fraud in the civil service, people have said, can we just go digital? Can we use the technological advancements that we have? That way we'll be able to trace fraud and corruption. But let's get your thoughts on this story.
Well, let me first of all thank the Enugu State Government for intentionally making effort to address the needs of the pensioners by paying them, because these are workers who deserve the wages of their labor while in service. I think it's commendable. Secondly, digitalization is a global approach towards issues, but it doesn't stop corruption, because it's it's also controlled by humans. So the digitalization is not a spiritual thing. So human beings are also the ones that...
So you think Nigerians have gone ahead of technology now?
No, it's a global thing. It's not about the people who operate it. If they are men and women of integrity, that's only when you can see the righteousness and digitalization of all of these desires. So my take is also this, to make a suggestion. Now, most times when pensioners passed on, not that the agencies where they work for, sometimes they communicate them. And because when they go for the burial, they see how wretched, how the economic lifestyle of that family is. They will say, okay, madam, my children, we are going to, we will not communicate to government for a period of time so that you people can be receiving the pension of your father.
So that happens?
Possibly. To ensure that you people can, you know, survive.
Are you just assuming, or have you seen a case like that?
It's very, very possible. Now, it happens severally. And then most times, if they are doing it on a sympathetic ground, on a moral ground, not on a legal ground. You know, so because they feel that let's just assist this family with this, holding this information from the system, government system. So that's part of why you see most of the times you see people that are passed on, they are still getting pension. It's just a way of sympathizing with the family. Again, secondly, I also feel that there should be maybe a periodic verification, maybe 6 months or 1 year, because most of the times the information about the deceased pensioners are not communicated. Most time because of the way the people view the working environment in Nigeria here, even when they relocate out of the country, they fail to communicate to their relevant authorities. So you discover that they will still be having that credit, receiving such resources, whereas they are not even around again in this country. But again, there are some too that those who are in the offices are the ones who are receiving it, and they are not even making sure it gets to those who are supposed to receive it. So there are so many reasons why we have these ghost pensioners.
Before you continue, let's talk about the very first reason you mentioned, about the fact that based on, like you called it, moral grounds but not legal grounds, the colleagues of the deceased pensioner might want to help the family of the deceased pensioner so that they can keep getting the money of that person. Now, let's talk about that. Don't you think a better way to help this family would be to make the access to the pension, that's the remaining funds now, the lump sum, to make it easier? We've had a lot of families of deceased pensioners that complain about the process of getting this thing done. You know the way some of these government workers can be. You submit a file, and before that file is moved, before something is just sent, you keep hearing things like the system is down. For 1 week, the system will be down. They're implying that there's no functional system in the whole of that ministry or the whole of that office. So sometimes you get this lackadaisical attitude coming from them, and other times there are other issues on ground that makes it difficult for this family of these diseased people to get the funds that they're supposed to get, being the next of kin of this person. So don't you think that would be a better way to help the family than just letting them get the stipend? Because what some of these pensioners receive are just stipends.
You see, the bureaucracy in our government system is too tedious. And that's why even the colleagues that comes and try to help them in that way know the tediousness in those processes. And my advice is, when you are working in government, it's very much good for you to see how you plan yourself outside your pension, because pension is not what will sustain your family. It cannot even sustain you upon retirement. It depends upon the kind of lifestyle that you were living, the level for which you retired from. So I think that it's good for every government worker, even though part of the civil service rule is against it, to get involved in entrepreneurship. So that
if the civil service rule is against it, then why are you encouraging it?
There are things that you can do. If the civil service rule is against you establishing a company, a business, you can empower your wife. You can empower your loved ones, your children, people around you. You mustn't be the CEO of such ventures. Knowing too well that if you empower your wife, empower your family members, you are empowering yourself.
What exactly would they empower their family members with the little salary they collect?
You see, in business, no money is small. Dependent on your vision, dependent on your projections and the favor of God. You can start a business with 5,000 naira, and over the period of years, it can develop, it can grow. Money grows. So many businessmen that are millionaires or billionaires today, they never started as a millionaire company. They started with a naira company. So I don't believe in an entrepreneurial mindset that any money is small. All monies are big as far as business is concerned. So when you start to say a little drop of water makes a mighty ocean. So you can start a business with the little resources that you have, and then trust the Lord as you keep funding it, and it will continually grow. Over the period of years, it will shock you that little business of 10,000 has grown to become a multi-million naira business. Yes, I'm saying from experiences too. So no money is small when it has to do with entrepreneurship.
But we cannot still rule away the fact that the system has to work.
Yes, we encourage that the system needs to work, but why we wait for a better system? The people must survive, first of all. Just like we talk about most of government policies, that they are laudable, but we need reality, immediate sustenance before those programs and projects become visible. So while we trust that government institutions need to be more viable, more reliance, there should still be a moral way of ensuring that families of the deceased survived. I'm not saying that it's by continually collecting pension when the law is already against it, but there should be a very good moral way to ensure that the family of the deceased do not suffer because their loved one has passed on.
Talking about the system working now, how do you think I don't know, sometimes we complain a lot about the government, what the government is not doing and what the government is doing. Even though you trace it back, at the end of the day, you find out that the government is you and I. But then we complain about our leaders. But then sometimes some of the offices that we, occupy, that small office, like some people would like to call it, that you occupy, are you really doing what you should do? So we cannot continue pampering the wrong system. We cannot continue sitting down and waiting for the system to get better. There should be things that should be done. There should be steps that should be taken. So what do you think can be done in this situation of some of these workers not carrying out their duties and, delaying files from moving from what? Is digitalization going to help right now? If you think digitalization is still human beings that will handle it, then what should be done in this situation?
Well, I think, one, we have to improve our technology. We have to also improve the responses to the resources for service delivery. Most times, someone who is in charge of the laptop, the computer,
yes,
will tell you there is no data. That's why we cannot. And the question is, in his own private laptop, there is data. But the question is, he cannot go ahead to provide data because of the bureaucracy. I don't know whether you get it. Not that he may not have the resources, but he needs to get approvals.
True. Before
he can do that. So these are part of the bureaucracies that brings delay. That's why we are talking about ensuring that resources, and the resources meant for service delivery are are timely. And then the resources too that are meant for this service delivery should actually be used for it.
Why are we talking about getting approval like it's some sort of big deal? What's there in signing for an approval?
It's not like a private...
Like we have to get an approval, so it looks like, oh my God, we have to wait for an approval.
Yes, of course.
That's a human being who's going to approve that. Is this supposed to be so much of a big deal or cause for conversation?
When the human being is not available, if it's a
okay, so you're saying some of them are usually not available?
Most of the time. Sometimes they go for an assignment that takes away their presence from office. Oversight
then
function.
Other times?
Most of the times, health factors. There are so many challenges unpredicted.
That keeps happening over and over again. That is too frequent.
Well, they are humans.
So what's the if you have things that will take you outside, that's not making you do your job all the time, is there any excuse that we want to put up now?
Most of the times, the resources, the allocation for the running of a particular government offices are not released on time. That's why I said resources meant for efficiency should be released promptly on time. They have their own reasons. I'm not holding brief for them. I'm not working in government offices, but I understand somehow how these things work. So in any case, we are only trying to say that the resources for service delivery should be made available.
Right.
And then when I talk about resources, I'm not just talking about the money and all that. I'm also talking about human resource too. If you know you are supposed to approve this and that, ensure that you do it ahead of time, in case there is a eventuality. But of course, too, sometimes the human mind is also nefarious. When you are being given the privilege, okay, do it. Sometimes they abuse the privilege because probably you say, okay, whenever you need this amount of resources, please use it. When I come, you can. But sometimes they abuse it too. So we are trusting that let the good Nigerians, increase. Those who are working in government sector, let the good people continue to increase, and so that we can have a more efficient system. So we trust that government system will improve and is improving too, and it will get more better.
All right, you have suggested frequent verification as one of the solution to the fraud that we have and ghost workers that we have in civil service. So let's move on to the next story now.